Good day, learners! Welcome back to the Discipline and Ideas in Social Sciences class. How are you today? I hope you're still doing great. Again, I am Teacher Claire, your Humanities and Social Science teacher. Please stay wide awake for our lesson today. Are you ready? If yes, let's explore new interesting topic more about social science. For our first activity, I'll give you a sample picture and all you have to do is to guess what character or positive approach that the pictures refer to. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer each given picture. Very good! The first illustration is an example of a bayanihan or pakikipagkapwa-tao. Indeed, the picture number 2 shows about PAKIKILAHOK. Excellent! The picture number 3 is an illustration of kagandahang loob. Amazing! The picture number 4 shows about PAKIKISAMA. Exactly! The picture number 5 is an example of kalayaan. Did you enjoy our first activity? Exciting, isn't it? Before we dig more about our recent activity, let's talk first about the Sikolohiyang Pilipino.
After going through this lesson, you're expected to first, identify the stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino. Second, list the key concept in Pantayong Pananaw. And third, appreciate the core values of Sikolohiyang Pilipino.
What psychology is made purely for Filipino? Yes, indeed. It is the Sikolohiyang Pilipino. The father of Sikolohiyang Pilipino is Virgilio G. Enriquez.
Virgilio G. Enriquez was born on November 24, 1942 at Santol, Balagtas, formerly Bigaa, Bulacan. He is the founder of the Pambansang Samahan sa Sikolohiyang Pilipino. He began teaching psychology at the University of the Philippines in 1963 using English as a medium of instruction that can only be interpreted to be an act of symptomatic of a nationalist path. He was given various awards such as the Gawad ng Pagkilala from the PSSP, Outstanding Young Scientist of the Philippines from the National Academy of Science and Technology, and Outstanding Psychologist from the Psychological Association of the Philippines. Filipino psychology or Sikolohiyang Pilipino. It is defined as the psychology rooted in the experience, ideas, and cultural orientation of the Filipinos. It was formalized in 1975 by the Pambansang Samahan sa Sikolohiyang Pilipino or National Association for Filipino Psychology under the leadership of Virgilio Enriquez. In the 1970s, during the chaotic time of Ferdinand Marcos' regime, nationalist and radical sentiments among scholars had allowed colonial and Filipino psychology to merge. Filipino psychology, along with the advances in Filipinology and histories, Pantayong Pananaw was led by Virgilio Enriquez, Prospero Covar, and Zeus Salazar in the indigenization movement of their respective fields. Zeus A. Salazar as the proponent of Pantayong Pananaw. Dr. Zeus A. Salazar, more popularly known as Bathala among students and peers, is considered as the father of Pantayong Pananaw. He is the co-founder of Pambansang Samahan sa Sikolohiyang Pilipino. He was born on April 20, 1934, and a Filipino historian, anthropologist, and philosopher of history. The stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino. Number 1 is the basic tenets. Basic tenets is the core values or kapwa. or in English, shared inner self. Kapwa is the core construct of Filipino psychology. We have two categories of kapwa. First, ibang tao or outsider. And second is hindi ibang tao.
Ibang tao has 5 interaction levels under this category. First, pakikitungo or civility, meaning the right behavior meant the right deportment toward authorities. Second, pakikisalamuha or an act of mixing. Third, PAKIKILAHOK or an act of joining, meaning participation of the entire community to help a person or someone. Fourth, PAKIKIBAGAY or conformity, meaning the act of socializing to conform or be accepted in a group. Fifth, PAKIKISAMA or being united with a group.
There are 3 in-function levels under hindi ibang tao. Number 1, pakikipagligayang loob, an act of mutual trust. You gain trust from a kamaradire or fellow human being. Number 2, pakikisangkot, an act of joining others. People join or share responsibilities in a particular group. And number 3, PAKIKIPAGKAPWA or being one with others, social interaction with others. Let's move to the second stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino, the pivotal interpersonal value. Pakiramdam, shared inner perceptions. Filipinos use their inner perception of other emotions, moods, or feelings as a guide in their dealings with other people. The third stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino is linking socio-personal value. Kagandahang loob, shared humanity, refers to being of help to other people in times of need due to a perception of being together as a part of Filipino humanity. The fourth stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino is the accommodative surface values. Number 1, hiya, translated as shyness by most Western psychologists. It is a sense of propriety or quality of being properly following recognized custom. Number 2, utang na loob or norm of reciprocity. Filipinos are expected by others to return favors, whether these were asked for or not, when it is needed or wanted. Number 3, pakikisama and pakikipagkapwa. Smooth interpersonal relationships. This attitude is primarily guided by conformity with the majority, conformity to the group. The fifth stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino is the confrontative surface values. Number 1, bahala na, translates literally as leave it up to God or bahala. It is used as an expression almost universally in Filipino culture. Filipinos engage in the attitude as a culture-influenced adaptive coping strategy when faced with challenging situations. Number 2, lakas ng loob, characterized by being courageous in the midst of problems and uncertainties, or bravery. Number 3, pakikibaka. It means concurrent clashes. It refers to the ability of the Filipino to undertake revolutions and uprisings, fights against a common enemy. The sixth stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino is the societal values. Number 1, karangalan, translated as dignity. This refers to what other people see in a person and how they use that information to make or judge about one's worth. Number 2, PURI, the external aspect of dignity, refers to how other people judge as a person of his or her worth. It is based on conformity to social norms regardless of how obsolete they are. Number 3, dangal. The internal aspect of dignity refers to how a person judges his worth. Number 4, Katarungan, translated to justice, refers to equity in giving rewards to a person or fair judgments. Number 5, kalayaan, freedom and mobility, This may clash with the less important values of pakikisama or pakikibagay or conformity. The last stages and manners of social interactions in Filipino is approaches and methods. Number 1. Pakikipagkwentuhan. The researcher engages in a storytelling with an umpukan. The researcher merely serves as the facilitator, while the kalahok or participants are the ones who are to talk to them. Kwento from the Spanish word cuento literally means to tell the story. Number 2. Panunuluyan. Method in which the researcher stays in the home of his kalahok or participant, while his researchers with consent by the host family whose head serves as the tulay to an umpukan. Number 3. Pagdadalaw-dalaw. The researcher occasionally visits the house of his host or tulay as opposed to staying in the house. Number 4. Pagtatanong-tanong. The researcher undergoes a kind of questioning session with his kalahok or participants. In this method, however, led questions, those questions which directly refer to the topic being studied, are not supposed to be asked. Instead, the questions to be asked are supposed to have been derived from the kalahok's answers themselves. Number 5. Pakiramdam. The researcher uses entirely his or her feelings or emotions to justify if his participants or kalahok are ready to be part of the research or not.
What a captivating topic, right? I hope you have learned about our lesson today. For that, I will give you your second activity. Please write your answer in your activity notebook. Instructions. Imagine yourself in these situations. Try to evaluate your personality and level of relationship with certain people and how it is reflected in certain situations. Try to relate the idea of kapwa with the concept of core values of Sikolohiyang Pilipino. The situation is: your teacher visited you in your house. In which part of the house would you entertain your teacher? Would you treat her formally as if you were in the classroom? Or would you offer refreshments? How does pakikisama different from pakikipagkapwa? I know you have an excellent idea to my questions because you give your 100% attention. To test your learnings, I have another 5-item multiple choice test, and all you have to do is to answer on a separate sheet of paper.
Directions. Read each item carefully and choose the letter of the correct answer. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Number 1. Which of the following statement about methods or approaches in Filipino psychology best describes panunuluyan? Letter A. The researcher stays in the home of his kalahok or participant while his researches with consent by host family whose head serves as the tulay to an umpukan. Letter B. The researcher occasionally visits the house of his host or tulay as opposed to staying in the house. Letter C. The researcher undergoes a kind of opportunity session with his kalahok or participants. And letter D. The researcher uses entirely his or her feelings or emotion to justify if his participants or kalahok are ready to be or part of his research or not. Great! The answer is letter A. The researcher stays in the home of his kalahok or participant while his researches with consent by the host family whose head serves as the tulay to an umpukan. Number 2. It refers to being of help to other people in times of need due to a perception of being together as part of Filipino humanity. Letter A. Kagandahang loob. Letter B. Karangalan. Letter C. Pakikibaka. Or letter D. Katarungan. Good! The answer is letter A. Kagandahang loob. Number 3. Who among the following Filipino thinkers is a historian, anthropologist, and philosopher of history that pioneered the Pantayong Pananaw from us perspective? Letter A, Isabelo de los Reyes. Letter B, Dr. Jose Rizal. Letter C, Zeus Salazar. Or letter D, Virgilio Enriquez. Excellent! The answer is letter C, Zeus Salazar. Number 4. It is translated to justice and refers to equity in giving reward to a person or fair judgments. Letter A, karangalan. Letter B, PURI. Letter C, dangal. Or letter D, katarungan. Excellent! The answer is letter D, katarungan. Number 5. Who among the following thinkers was considered as the father of Filipino psychology or ama ng Sikolohiyang Pilipino? Letter A, Zeus Salazar. Letter B, Isabelo de los Reyes. Letter C, Virgilio Enriquez. Or letter D, Prospero Covar. Very good! The answer is letter A, Zeus Salazar.
Amazing! You've made it! Hope you enjoyed our lesson today. Remarkable topic, right? Howard Zen once said, "A small axe when multiplied by millions of people can transform the world." Once again, this is Teacher Claire. Take care and God bless us all.